It's time to talk Western Conference playoffs, and wow, the number 1 versus number 8 matchup this year is an absolute doozy, as we have the Dallas Stars taking on the defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights.
Yes, unlike the Eastern Conference, this isn't so much of a David versus Goliath. This is going to be a cracker of a series.
And let's start by talking about the depth of the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, they had 7 20-goal scorers. It's really hard to shut this team down because they spread out the offense nicely. For me, the most exciting player down the stretch was Wyatt Johnson, as he cracked the 30-goal mark for the first of probably many times.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Jason Robertson can offer here in the playoffs.
I'm
Slightly
curious.
down year for him, but he does have another gear, we know. So if we see that in the playoffs, watch out for this offense.
I love Joe Pavelski. You know he's going to be coming up big in the playoffs.
Yeah, one of the best net front guys in the league and always so clutch. They really do have a nice mix of veterans and young forwards, though. I mean, Logan Stankoven came in and he made an immediate impact, but they've also got trusted veterans, guys like Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, and I really like the addition of Matt Duchene this offseason. He fit in great.
Yeah, I agree. This is going to be a tough offense to shut down. So important to have balanced scoring in the playoffs, and Dallas certainly has that.
And they have a pretty fantastic decor as well.
Yes, the depth continues all the way down the lineup. I love the addition of Christopher Tanev. He's such a playoff warrior. You know you're going to get everything from him in the playoffs.
For sure. And Miro Heiskanen, 54 points. Great offensive year, but he also offers a lot defensively too.
And young Thomas Harley back there picked up 15 goals this year.
Yeah, this is a guy who, first round pick, highly touted, and he is really rounding into form nicely. Let's not forget Esa Lindell, another really nice shutdown defender they have as well.
Yeah, but let's look at Vegas. I mean, their depth got a big boost with some returning people and some trade acquisitions. What do we think about this team?
Well, the big story is Mark Stone is back.
Yeah, no one doubted it. Everyone's been complaining about it for the last few weeks, but he is ready to go, and he is the leader for them. Of course, they also have Jack Eichel, another point-per-game season. He was such a force for them in the playoffs last season.
Let's not forget a couple original members of the Vegas Golden Knights. Jonathan Marchessault with a great year, 42 goals, and Wild Bill Karlsson, great year with 30 goals as well.
As if that wasn't enough, they've added to their embarrassment of riches at the deadline, snaking Thomas Hertl from the Sharks. He looked really good, especially winning lots of draws for them. That'll be huge in the playoffs. And Anthony Mantha didn't really fit in super well, but this is a guy who's got great hands. I could see him being an X factor for the Knights in the playoffs.
And what about the defense of the Las Vegas Golden Knights?
I mean, pretty good adding Noah Hannafin there, but of course, led by Shea Theodore, he's had a great year. And Alex Pietrangelo brings his A game in the playoffs. He's back from an injury, so they're looking pretty healthy back there.
Yeah, they have such a big bruising D-core. They were so effective last season. It's going to be really interesting to see that matchup going up against all of those dynamic Dallas forwards.
And let's talk about the battle in net. The Dallas Stars have Jake Ottinger, who had a bit of a rough start to the season, but he came on down the stretch.
No, I watched a lot of Jake Ottinger down the stretch. He looks like he's in elite form, and this is going to be the big advantage, I think.
And John, who do you think the Golden Knights are going to start in net?
Well, it's a good question. Of course, they have Logan Thompson. He played a little bit better down the stretch. But Aiden Hill, Stanley Cup winner last year, I think they're probably going to go with Hill out of the gate. But if he falters, look to see Logan Thompson play some games here.
Yeah, Hill does not look right. He's been injured a few times. I think we see Thompson very early in this series.
Okay, guys, let's get our picks in.
This is tough, picking against the Stanley Cup champions in round 1, but I think I have to do it. Dallas was better down the stretch. I love Dallas's depth. Stars in 6.
And John?
Yeah, I have some questions about Vegas. I mean, they're all coming back at the same time. They haven't really had enough time to coalesce into that playoff form that they got to last year, and Dallas is such a tough task out of the gate. I'm going to pick Dallas in 5.
Okay, this is such a tough matchup to call, but I am going to choose the Dallas Stars. I just love the look of this team in 6 games.
Now, our next series is a struggle, a battle between two juggernauts from the Central Division. John, your Winnipeg Jets are going to be taking on the Colorado Avalanche.
Yes, I am nervous about this one, but, I'm feeling pretty good about Winnipeg. Lots to break down here. Where do we want to start?
Well, I would say one of the big advantages in this series is for the Jets in net. Connor Hellebuck was great this year. He had a 2.39 GAA and a 921 save percentage, where there's a lot of questions for the Avalanche in goal.
No, Alexander Georgiev did not look right for most of the season, and for some strange reason, they did not go out and get a steady backup goaltender for the playoffs. I could really see that coming back to bite them. I'm not sure if you can trust Annunen to come in and do the job. I think this is going to be a big obstacle for a very talented team to overcome.
Yeah, I would agree. Clear advantage in net for Winnipeg. But when it comes to star power, I don't think anyone can top the Avs. I mean, Nathan MacKinnon is such a beast when he's determined to score a goal. Watch out. Mikko Rantanen not too far behind MacKinnon, 100 points for him as well. And Cale Makar on the blue line. I mean, just those three players alone, probably better than anybody on Winnipeg's roster.
Yeah, another stud they have is Valeri Nichushkin. That guy's an absolute beast when he's locked in. He's looked good down the stretch. But they did suffer a loss. Jonathan Drouin, unfortunately, after having a nice bounce-back season, will miss the first round. So that's a big loss. Another former Hab, though, watch out for Arturi Lehkonen. He's always got a clutch goal in him.
And John, what about the Jets offense?
Well, the Jets have a very balanced offense. Of course, it's led by Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. Connor was a bit banged up, but when he came back, he was playing excellent. But they do have a lot of depth scoring as well, which I think will help them in this series.
Yeah, more former Habs I got to talk about, guys. I think the addition of Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah.
Wow, I think those are the perfect guys to add to that lineup. Really rounds out their offense nicely.
Yeah, and Monahan really helped that power play out.
For sure. They were really struggling early in the season, but once he came on, a big uptick in their power play production.
Yeah, a great glue piece in the bumper position.
And a nice first season for Gabe Vilardi in Winnipeg.
Absolutely. He was banged up here and there, but when he was playing, he was a really important contributor to the team.
And how do these two teams stack up against each other on D?
Yeah, this is a thing that we kind of went back and forth about. And I think the conclusion that we settled upon was that Colorado probably has the more dynamic offensive defenseman. But if it comes down just to shut down defensemen, I think Winnipeg has the edge. A little bit more sandpaper back there as well. They were the stingiest team in the NHL, after all.
Yeah, for sure. Nice cushion for Connor Hellebuck with their defensive structure. It's going to play an important part in this series.
I just love Josh Morrissey's two-way play. He's going to be huge in this series.
Yeah, it's amazing. The last two seasons now, he showed last year was not a fluke, coming through with another great season. So he's the anchor back there for the Jets.
Okay, fellas, let's get our picks in there.
This is so tough. I've gone back and forth on this one. I'm going to go with the star power winning out in the end. MacKinnon, Rantanen, Makar. There'll be a little bit too much for the Jets, but it'll be a 7-game series.
And I'm sorry to say this, John. I think the Avs are going to win this one in 6.
Well, I haven't really liked what I've seen out of Colorado over the last couple of weeks. I think they're vulnerable. I think Winnipeg is going to take it to them. I think they're going to take it in 6.
And let's move over to the Pacific Division. The Vancouver Canucks, they won the division, and they'll be taking on the Nashville Predators. How does this one break down?
Yeah, on paper, it looks like pretty big mismatch. The Canucks were so dominant for most of the season. Although they did stumble a little bit late, they still have the best players in this series, guys like Elias Pettersson, JT Miller cracking the 100-point mark, and of course, Quinn Hughes with his Norris Trophy last season.
What a season.
Yeah,
that guy should win the Norris.
Yeah, for sure. Brock Besser also had a great year. So I think in star power offensively, you got to give the edge to Vancouver for sure.
But how about the Nashville Predators?
Well, it all begins with the fabulous Philip Forsberg and his exquisite mustache. He potted 48 goals, finally staying healthy this year and showing why he is their most dominant offensive force.
Yeah, I love Philip Forsberg, but let's not forget Roman Josi as well. What a year for him, too. 84 points from the back end. He really drives that ship.
Amazing. Gustav Nyquist finished with 75 points. Can you believe it?
That's a very quiet 75-point season.
And Andrew Burnett, this was his first year as coach. We have Barry Trotz as the general manager now. And they got a lot of Ryan O'Reilly. He proved to everybody he wasn't finished. He finished the year with 69 points.
And we know that this is now his best time of the year. He's such a playoff warrior. So, yeah, a great guy to have in your lineup.
And how about some of the forward depth on Vancouver?
Well, two guys come to mind. We've got Dakota Joshua, who's an absolute physical force out there. I think he could be an X factor when things get rough and tumble. Great guy to have. On the flip side, we got a little guy with great hands, Connor Garland. I just wonder how effective he can be when the high traffic, gritty hockey starts. Is he going to get into scoring areas and make a difference?
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what Elias Lindholm can bring in this playoff series. He didn't really seem to fit in with the team down the stretch there, but I think he's got a really great tailor-made game for the playoffs, and let's see what he can contribute here.
And how about the defense of both of these teams?
Yeah, we did spend some time in previous shows talking about how Vancouver had rebuilt their decor, bringing in guys like Carson Soucy. Zadorov was brought in this season. Myers has been playing better, a guy that's been with them, kind of living up to that contract a little bit more. But I think the big one was Hronik, adding him. He's been so good as the number 2 defenseman behind Hughes.
Yeah, for Nashville, not as much depth as they used to have. Of course, Ryan McDonough, Stanley Cup champion. He's a great presence back there, but it's not what it used to be. It kind of gets a lot thinner after that.
But I like the hammers they have back there. They have Jeremy Lauzon, who broke the record for most hits in a season. And of course, Luke Schenn is another guy who's a tough customer, not afraid to get dirty. These guys are extra valuable in the playoffs.
And I am super excited about this battle in net. Vancouver has Thatcher Demko, and the Nashville Predators have UC Saros.
I'm a big fan of Thatcher Demko. He was having a really strong season, but then he got hurt. Came back, played a few games at the end of the season, but I don't think he's back to his top form. And to have to find that form in the playoffs, I don't know. This is a bit of a dicey thing for the Canucks, I think.
Yeah, for Nashville, UC Saros didn't have his best regular season, but we do know he can elevate his play. He's a great goaltender. So if he can reach the level that he's capable of, I think you could give the advantage to Nashville if Demko can't find his game.
All right, boys, let's get our picks in. Mark, who are you going with?
You know, of all the favored teams in the playoffs, I think the Vancouver Canucks are the most vulnerable. Demko coming back from an injury, and just the whole team not really playing that well down the stretch. Elias Pettersson looked like he was a little bit off as well. I think the Canucks fall. Predators take it in 7.
And John?
This is a tough one to call. I was tempted to go with the upset as well, but I am going to pick the Vancouver Canucks. I don't think it's going to be easy for them. I think they're going to go 7 games, but I think home ice is going to win it for them in the end.
The Vancouver Canucks have been such a fun story. I think along with the Winnipeg Jets were the biggest surprise teams of this year. I think Rick Tocchet is going to keep it going, and I select the Canucks in 5.
Our final series out west is going to start in my hometown of Edmonton, Alberta, as the Oilers take on the Los Angeles Kings for the 3rd season in a row.
Yeah, big rematch here. I think it all starts with the offense, and we know who has the clear advantage there. The Edmonton Oilers, of course, led by Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. But, I mean, Zach Hyman with a big, surprising year. How many goals did he end up with?
54 goals.
Wow.
What
a year.
Yeah, no doubt that they are terrifying on offense, but what about Connor McDavid, guys? He missed a bunch of games down the stretch. Any worry there?
Slight worry for sure. We'll see how healthy he is. When he was playing, he was looking great. But yeah, it's always a concern when your star player is hurt.
And Leon Draisaitl, he had 100 points.
A very quiet 100 points, I felt. I don't know. I just felt like he had less of those shifts where he just takes over the game and controls the puck. I'm not saying he can't take it to another level. In fact, maybe he's been saving something for the playoffs. But we've seen him become their best player before in playoff runs. So watch out for Leon. He's hungry for a cup.
And the Oilers got a really nice season out of Evan Bouchard.
Absolutely breaking the point per game barrier. So what does Los Angeles counter with offensively?
Well, a little bit of a changing of the guard. They're usually led in scoring by Anze Kopitar, but this year it was Kevin Fiala, followed by Adrian Kempe, who had some nice seasons.
Oh, I love watching Adrian Kempe. He's such a beautiful skater. When he gets ahead of steam, watch out. He's really tough to stop. But, you know, the one guy that they've wanted so much more from, he was supposed to start taking over as their top-line center, Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Tough year.
Yeah.
40 points. That's all he could manage after 63, a career high last season. Just looks like he didn't fit in. They did get him, though, for the rough and tumble playoffs. He's a big body. We've seen it before from him in the playoffs back in his Columbus days, so maybe he finally pays off for them.
And I'm a big fan of Thousand Oaks, California resident Trevor Moore, who got 30 goals this year.
Goals galore, Trevor Moore.
Yeah, and a decent season as well from Quinton Byfield. He's another big body. He was a little slow down the stretch, so hopefully he can pick up his game here for the playoffs.
For me, the X factor we haven't mentioned, Phil Deneau. I think he's one of the guys that anchors that second best penalty kill unit. He's going to be a thorn in the side of Draisaitl and McDavid. I think he's going to make a difference in this series and make it a lot harder than the Oilers.
Yeah, the Oilers, who had such an amazing power play the last 2 seasons, but this year they finished 4th.
Well, 4th is still pretty good, Jeff.
Yeah, and I mean, they did pick it up over the second half of the season too, so watch out for that.
Yeah, you know, we talked a little bit about the LA Kings' depth at forward. What about the Oilers? What have they done to address an area that's been questionable in the past?
Well, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins had 100 points last year. He had a bit of a drop, but he's such a smart player.
Yeah, he's a nice guy to have there. They also have Warren Fogle, who had a pretty serviceable year himself.
Yeah, 19 goals for him.
Yeah, and Ryan McLeod is another nice piece. I could see him getting a big goal in these playoffs.
And how about Corey Perry?
Yeah, Corey Perry, you know he's going to score at least one big goal for the Oilers in the playoffs. I also liked adding Adam Henrique at the deadline, another veteran who might be able to pitch in a few different areas.
And Evander Kane?
Evander Kane is a big question mark. Like, he's a good guy to have playing the way he plays in the playoffs, but a pretty slow year for him, so they're really hoping for him to elevate his play.
Yeah, I just don't think his hands have been the same since that catastrophic injury last year. I don't know. I still think he can play a physical game, though, and mix things up for the Oilers. Maybe just not the sniper he used to be.
And how about the decor on these teams?
You got to love Drew Doughty back there. He can make life miserable for opposing forwards. He is a year older, though, and this is going to be a tough series. How much really elite hockey does he have left? It's a little bit of a question.
Yeah, the guy I really like, because they got him at the deadline last year, Dennis Gavrikov. They re-signed him long-term. He's an excellent defenseman. A little underrated, I think. Maybe at some point we also see some contributions from guys like Jordan Spence. He's one of the young defensemen. He got some time on the power play. Talented guy.
So aside from Evan Bouchard and the Bushbaum, who else do the Oilers have?
Well, we cannot forget about Matthias Ekholm. He is just fitting so well for the Oilers with his amazing two-way play.
Yeah, no doubt he's been excellent, but beyond those two top guys, I just see a lot of bottom pairing type defenders. This is the one area I thought they would address at the deadline. They didn't, and I think it's one of their biggest weaknesses. I don't know if a guy like Cody Ceci or Brett Kulak can handle top 4 minutes against big, strong teams.
No, I mean, Darnell Nurse is a big minute muncher there, but yeah, it does get pretty thin after that for sure.
And there's lots of questions in net, guys. Who would you say has the edge here?
Ooh, this is a tough one to call. On Edmonton's side, Stuart Skinner definitely has a lot of talent. They're hoping he's going to become a franchise goaltender. Stumbled last year in the playoffs, stumbled again out of the gates this year. A lot better in the second half, but still lots of question marks in the Edmonton Oilers crease.
Some questions for LA as well. They ran with a tandem of Cam Talbot and David Riddick. What do you think of these guys, Jeff?
These guys surprised me with their numbers. I mean, Talbot finished with a 247 GA and a 915 save percentage, and Big Save Dave was even better.
Yeah, but I think these guys look good because of the team around them. I don't see them as being difference makers in net. And unfortunately for LA, this is not an area they have an advantage in, and they're already at a deficit in forwards. So I just don't see where there's a big LA advantage.
Fair point.
Okay, guys, let's get our picks in here.
I mean, this is a pretty easy one for me. I picked the Oilers to win the cup. Got to stick with them. I think they take the Kings in 6.
Yeah, like last year as well, I think Edmonton's just too good for them. Oilers in 6.
And I'm choosing the Oilers as well in 5 games.
That concludes our preview of the Western Conference playoffs.